Radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Well, good evening, Fade to Black. Today is Tuesday, September 12th, 2023. Let's do this, man. Yeah, if you've been with me all day today, and Christina, it's been a long day. This is my third show. We did a 3.5-hour show in the middle. The UFO hearing live in Mexico went down earlier today. Still unpacking it. It was 3.5 hours, and I'll say this: Jaime Maussan and the team that he put together was not playing around today. It was direct and to the point. It was in Spanish. Christina is working on translations now that will be subtitled in another version that should be up and running tomorrow, and we'll get those links out there. In the meantime, you can certainly go over to my YouTube channel, her YouTube channel, and check out the replay. I think I've also got it up on a couple of other platforms too, as well, Facebook and others. It's up. So anyway, a pretty fascinating presentation. You wanted evidence, you wanted pictures, you wanted alien bodies. Well, you got all of that today and much more. And we'll see. Now the question is, what does the world do with this? What does the United States do with it? What's the response? How's the media going to respond to it? Hang on. I've been on the air all day. So the House was packed, and it was in an official government building, by the way, today, and it was sworn testimony. Two very important points that need to be driven home with all of this. The House was packed, and there was a lot of media there. There was a lot of reporters and journalists. You could see that going on. So let's see what happens now. And like I said, we will have a subtitled and translated version of the presentation tomorrow, and we will get the links up. And tomorrow night, we have Cliff Dunning on the show. We're going to be talking about ancient pyramid science, that and much more. We'll bring Cliff in here in just a second. But tomorrow we'll be on with Christina with Mysteries with the History. Last week we did alien bodies. I don't know what we're going to cover this week, but it seems like I think I know what the subject is going to be. And then tomorrow night on Fade to Black is an AMA, Ask Me Anything. And I know what those subjects are going to be about tomorrow night. So anyway, wow, what a day. What a day. Let's get straight to it. Cliff Dunning is joining us tonight. We're going to be talking about, we're going to talk about Mars. Stuff that may be up there. We're going to be talking about pyramid science in Egypt and Mesoamerica. I did a great show on some of this stuff last night and with Marco. That was a great conversation. So we'll be doing that. And we're also going to talk about first contact again. Everything that we always love to talk about right here on Fade to Black. Cliff is the former program director for the Learning Annex in San Francisco Whole Life Expo and numerous national conferences. He launched the award-winning podcast Earth Ancients in 2014. Wow, was podcast even a name? Was it a word? Was it a thing back then? Wow, that's incredible. And Destiny in 2021. He's a regular contributor to Ancient Origins magazine and the author of Black Knight Satellite and the Maya Controversy. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Business and Marketing. His websites are below and over on social media. And I would like to welcome for the first time, and it's about time to Fade to Black, Cliff Dunning. There he is right there. Cliff, how you doing tonight, my man?
Jimmy, good to see you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you too as well. And now, yeah, Cliff, we've known each other for a long time, but you get the first time guest disclaimer. So let's get that out of the way. Cliff, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends, and where the conversation starts, it starts, and where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. There you go. You have to accept. You have to click. You have to click on the box.
Click on the box.
Okay. See, I knew I had you. Cliff.
I'm looking for the box.
So we're going to be talking about a lot of things tonight. And when you go through the day that we had today for the UFO community and for the world, it was an extraordinary hearing down in Mexico City. But you had Stephen Greer doing his thing last month or the month before. We had David Grush in front of Congress the month before that or the week before that. And all of the other revelations that have been going down. You've been at this for a very, very long time. But did you ever imagine us being where we are today on the subject?
I got to tell you, I am so happy it's somewhat coming to a head. We have this intelligence officer saying that, in 2027, the aliens will actually reveal themselves?
Right.
Have you heard that? I mean, that's...
Yeah. He was on, I think he said that on Fade to Black.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. But one of the people who I've interviewed just last week was Dr. Avi Loeb from Harvard, who is an astrophysicist. He wrote Extraterrestrial, just came out with a new book called Interstellar, and he is opening the veil to disclosure in terms of UAPs. He's got a UAP station in Hawaii. He's got one in Massachusetts. And what he is going to do, and he has started doing this, is reveal to the public these craft, trying to analyze the propulsion system. Obviously, you can't analyze who's flying them, but we can at least get a sense of the craft themselves, what they're doing. And many people feel, and you probably already realize this, that these operators are likely to be anthropologists who are looking at Earth and going, hey, who are these Earthlings? How far developed are they? And obviously, when we have the potential to have downcraft in our warehouses studying them, we have a heads up, but it's only on the military side. And so I have been saying for a long time that the military has to quit looking at the Brookings Institute document as a form of navigation. And what that document basically says is that we are not ready for first contact. We are not prepared. We are not in any shape whatsoever ready to handle this. And I believe that document is still kind of the manifesto for the Department of Defense and NASA. So it's still a challenge, what's going on right now. But we're getting bits and pieces, and what you did today by listening to that 3-hour, I'd love to hear more about that 3-hour interview or conference is another opening for more data.
Yeah, and you're right about all of that. Avi, I've interviewed Avi many, many times. He's been on my TV show too as well. I've hung out with him and Avi, and I love his book. You know what? He signed a copy of it for me, and what he wrote in it was pretty touching. I've never shown it to anybody, but you just reminded me. One of these days I'll take it out and show it to everybody. It's pretty cool. But Avi was part of the presentation today too, as well, in Mexico City. And I think that when we look at academia as a whole, where the physicists and the astrophysicists, the theoretical, even the quantum, where they've always been in a sense of denial because they felt that the distances were too large, Well,
Yeah.
now science is starting to help them out and help them realize that it's not about the distance. It's not about the old UFO hypothesis, a metal craft with some rivets on it and a couple of dudes in there with joysticks, flying for a million years to go these distances. That's not the case. And or may not be the case. That some of the stuff may be just that, but there are other ways to get around the vastness of space, and I think that's where we are today. And I think Avi is really helping bridge the gap between science and the phenomenon itself. I sat. I'm sitting with Avi, and we started arguing in a good way, and it was about the amount of planets in our Milky Way. And he corrected me, and I said 40 billion, right? 40 billion Earth-like planets. He's like, blah, 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 it's a trillion. And that's where we are today, Cliff, where it's the scientists who were in denial, about something else being out there, to realizing the data says every star's got at least one planet.
Yeah.
So it's a numbers game now, and science knows how to deal with numbers. And I think that's where we are. It's an exciting time.
Yeah. I think one of the big things that I've come to realize in probably 30 years of hosting people like Stanton Freeman and John Mack and Bud Hopkins, all the big shots, the big players, is the realization that when we have this first contact, either the realization that there's ruins on Mars, on the planet Moon, down ship, down craft, whatever, or an actual being coming out of a ship and saying, hello, welcome to the Federation of Planets, we automatically evolve. We are not alone anymore. And this is why it bothers me about this document and the further reaching out of the Department of Defense to theologians and saying, how are people going to react? And they're basically saying they're still going to freak out. Churches are going to have problems. And that's just not the way to go, I think. If they're going to talk to anybody, they need to talk to social media people, because without a doubt, the surveys I've done, people are open arms wanting to see some form of contact.
Yeah, it's a question that has been asked since the dawn of man. Okay, it's really that simple. It's a very fundamental, non-trivial situation. Who are we? Where do we come from? Are we alone?
Right.
You can throw in what happens after we die. They're okay. So like 4 fundamental questions, and that's one of the biggest ones. Are we alone? And I think people want that answer. I think they're okay with it. Now, you just brought up, it's very interesting and melancholy at the same time, bringing up Bud Hopkins and John Mack and Stanton Friedman and others, because, we stand on the shoulders of giants and that have been paving this way for us for a very long time, who are no longer here with us. Right. I mean, they deserve their moment in the sun right now. Jim Mars and Lloyd Pye. I just go on and on and on and on with the list of names. James McDonald. He deserves. You know what I mean? It's,
recognition.
They would just be enjoying themselves right now. But I think that we are ready, but I think that the question that Brookings and Condon and the statements from other reports that have gone on the Rand Corporation over the years about the big freak out and anarchy in the streets. I don't think that's the big question about now. Who are they and why are they here? We'll have to turn around and reflect back on ourselves and say, who are we? who are we? Who are we? What is our position in all of this now?
Yeah.
Where we get rid of the self-centeredness, right? That the earth is at the center of everything and all the self-importance, where we have to kind of turn it around and go, who are we? And what's the meaning of that? I think that's where we are.
Yeah, his obvious new book, Interstellar, gets into planetary development. He looks at our condition right now, and he calls us a D-class civilization, which means that we are not able to function without burning fossil fuels, destroying our atmosphere, and we're not really prepared to be an interstellar civilization. And he gets into an A level, B level, and C level, and we're pretty far off in developing, power to power our cities to the point where we're not destroying our environment. And this is where this new book that he's written really outlines preparation. And I think what he's trying to say is that as we prepare ourselves for interstellar travel, we'll be able to receive our neighbors more fully, who are probably A, B, C level civilizations.
Well, if they can get here, well, they're beyond us. And here's Cliff. Here's the crazy. You want me to tell you the real crazy part? Where this is where my mind gets really twisted. But here's the crazy part: our science on this planet, if we believe academia, right? Okay, it's not go outside of our community, but if we just stay with that, our science on this planet is 300 years old.
Yeah.
You go back to Newton, maybe Galileo, right? Kind of push things back a little bit. But like real science and medicine and everything, it's 300 years old. What are we going to do when we bump into somebody with 1 billion years of science behind them?
Exactly.
Just think of what, that's the part that, and we think that we're ready for that and that type of communication and that kind of knowledge. We're only 300 years in, man.
Yeah.
300 years. What are we going to do if we just stop and think about how far we have come since 1900? We went from 1900, okay, in 69 years, we went from covered wagons to Jimi Hendrix. Right? In 69 years. 69 years. We went from candles, right? To stereo and color television and landing on the moon in 69 years. Atomic energy, right? All of that, flight and everything that we did. 69 years. What are we going to do with some, so if we think about where we're going to be in 1,000 years, would we even recognize ourselves today? Probably not.
Yeah.
No. This is the covered wagon days compared to where we're going to be in 1,000 years. So what are we going to do with an advanced civilization that's got, 10,000, 20,000, 1 billion years on us? We do need to do a certain amount of preparation for that. We think we're ready. We've seen the movies, but no, we're not ready for it. It'll be fun if it happens, but would we understand it? Probably not.
Yeah. Why do you think our military and our science have such a problem with identifying UAPs? I mean, we've all heard the Bob Lazar story of seeing the craft, trying to reverse engineer a power system, and likely deaths in the procedures of trying to do that. Have you interviewed Marion Rudnick?
No.
He wrote Intersect. He's down in your area. He is a former NASA JPL astronomer who, after he retired, had his own sighting in Temecula down south, and actually was able to identify a number of UFOs that seemed to come out of a Stargate in the sky, took very, very good photographs of them to the point where he could see the insignias and colors of these craft, published them, and the Men in Black immediately came after him. Right now, his life's ruined because they're jamming his phones, they're jamming his internet, and he's having a hell of a time. But this is one of their own. Why would they do that when all he wanted to do is say, hey, look what I found, look what I've discovered. These are not craft from our planet. So it's a challenge. By the way, his book's called Intersect, and it's a good read.
Okay, I'll check it out. I'll check it out for sure. But that is, we're at this crossroads, this bizarre situation where I want to go back and I like the way you flipped it. You went from being the guest to the host. That's because you host your own show. I like the way you did that.
Sorry about that, man.
No, it was smooth. It was smooth. But let me go back and address that, because that's a really good point. The question that you ask is, why does the Department of Defense or anybody have such a problem documenting and photographing and videoing these craft? And my answer to that, it's kind of like what I just said. It's a technology that is beyond our understanding. All right, we just have a level of understanding that'll only go so far. Yeah. And we're dealing with something now that is just above us. You know, it's here, but we're not quite there yet. And so when you have the possibility, and I'm just throwing this out there, of something that is at another frequency, coming from another dimension, another plane of existence, stepping out of some kind of Stargate, and then arriving here, we may only be able to see them for a short period of time, a couple of seconds, before they go back to where they were, or the ability to change that frequency, or that wherever they are in the light spectrum. Because anything else that is out there, we live we live in a certain time space. Right. And that's it. We're in a certain, and we may be dealing with something that is living in a different time length, something completely different. So everything that we need from them, that we have, whether it's laser communications, radio transmissions, something in the electromagnetic spectrum that we're used to decoding and encoding and picking up and with antennas and transmitting, is that we don't have the ability. We see it and hear it, but it's coming back to us as static. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing with these craft. You know, it's static to us. It's not part of our dimension. And I think that has, but it's probably, I don't have words for it. My level of understanding isn't there, but I think that's probably pretty close to what we're dealing with here. We've all seen craft just appear and disappear. You know, we've all seen it. You know, so when people say that, it makes a lot of sense to me. It's like, it's not like I'm thinking somebody's crazy. I'm like, well, no, that's probably exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I published on my Facebook page a graphic that was produced by an Italian company that creates military aerospace equipment, and it is a list of 80 known or photographed UAPs of all various sizes and shapes that people have seen around the world. A really very cool graphic. The thing that I ask and I pose the question is, how many of these craft are reverse engineered from our own military?
Sure.
How many are off world? And you know, and the final question is, what's the propulsion systems of these craft? And that's really of interest to a lot of people, because even though our government doesn't want to come clean and say, look, this is what we know, people are seeing these craft everywhere. And so how do we go about processing this data when our own government won't tell us about it? So it's a
Yeah,
challenge.
well, and see, you bring up one of the best points that you can, which is we're always wondering about the propulsion system. And that is the word that we use because we're used to gas in our car, engines on a jet or a boat, a propulsion system, motorized skates, whatever it is, right? A propulsion system. But maybe that's not what they're doing. They may not have anything ejecting out of the back. They may not have some kind of anti-gravity propulsion. It may be something completely the opposite of
true.
that. And that's it, where they can cross what we would consider a linear line across the universe or the Milky Way, and we look at distance and we measure that in miles and in light years, but they may not be doing that. They just may go just like that, and they're not strapping in. They're not strapping in. There's nothing to there's nothing going on. So that's my point. We focus on that so much. I say this all the time, but I live next to Skunk Works, right? It's 1 mile from my home. It's just right up the road. I live in Palmdale. And the stuff that is going on over there, forget about Area 51. The real stuff is right here, right? And the stuff that they're working on down there, reverse engineered, going back to your point, for sure. I think that is what's going on. Edwards Air Force Base is right up the road. That's a flight test center. That's what it is. It's not. They don't have attack aircraft there. That's a flight test center, and it's more secret than anything you can imagine, and it's massive. And so that's right up the road. So when you ask a very important question, how much of it is, visiting us from somewhere else, and how much of it is ours that is reverse engineered from an off-planet technology? I'd say it's a pretty good mix. We would have to be testing that stuff. And some of it may be in use. Forget about testing. And so, I think it's a pretty good mix. If I'm a betting man, I'm going right there. I think it's a mix.
Yeah. I'm really pushing for some form of first contact, and it doesn't have to be with an off-world being. I am also looking at archaeology, and I'm sure you're well aware of it. You've had John Brandenburg on the program, Dr. Brandenburg, who wrote the book Death on Mars. 30 years ago or 25 years ago, when Richard Hoagland came out with the Monuments on Mars book, I had him at a San Francisco conference, and I was like, this is all made up. And he started showing archaeological ruins from some of the early satellite photographs. And I took it all in, and I became convinced, to the point where now guys like Dr. Mark Carlotta, who's a satellite expert, has proven there's pyramids, there's structures on Mars, and they've been there for centuries. Why can't we just have a disclosure in that form, which is a lot easier? You're not saying they're alive, they're long dead.
Well, but that's the easy way out. I would expect that to happen. That's the easy way out. If you, Cliff, again, you brought up like 3 or 4 amazing points tonight already, and we've just gotten started. But the way out, one of them happened today. All right, there was a press release. I'll pull it up right here. I did a short version of it. So I've got it condensed to a couple of sentences. So today it was announced that the James Webb Space Telescope has discovered life on another planet. Okay, now check this out. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has discovered evidence of a sign of life on exoplanet K2-18b. K2-18b is about 120 light years away from Earth. It may have detected a molecule called dimethyl sulfide, DMS. On Earth, it's only produced by life. Are you ready for this? Are you ready?
I'm listening.
That's plankton.
Oh, wow.
So what it and also on K2-18b, researchers have detected methane, right? Plankton farts, right? Apparently, and CO2 in the planet's atmosphere. That's how you get around the direct alien contact, right? You disclose that first. Right, let's find microbes on Mars. Let's find something strange on the moon. You know, it's something on a meteorite. The Osiris, that's landing with its samples from the asteroid Bennu next week, in the second week of September 24th, I think. And so that's going to come back, and that's how you do it. Right? Expose that first, and then NASA and the government has their end around. You don't have to have the direct contact. You introduce it that way.
I think that NASA should come clean with Mars, because I have been sent landscape photographs from a satellite of what looks like archaeological ruins of a city. It's called it's Atlantis Chaos is the name of the section. And I showed it to I've showed it to two archaeologists without telling them where it's located. And both of them are like, oh, how far have they excavated it?
Right.
Well, the truth of the matter is it's so black and white now, and there's so much imagery of the planet that telling us that they're going to send us back microbes doesn't cut it anymore. I believe that there's probably two phases, and I've heard this from other scientists. There's the public-facing rover crew that says, yeah, we're digging microbes, and by the way, we found a skeletal remain of a amoeba or something. And then there's another facing group, which is the Black Ops group that takes over after a certain time frame. And they're bumping into pyramids, and they're bumping into temples, and they're scanning and photographing all kinds of stuff, is my guess. Because that rover is $2.2 billion. And it's got too much equipment in there to be doing just the minute scientific studies that they're talking about.
Well, okay, let's stay right there. That's Cliff Dunning's amazing point number 5. I'm gonna start keeping tabs now. Let's see here. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're up to 5. You're doing good, Cliff. The announcement that came over the weekend. What's today? Today's Tuesday. I think it was announced on Saturday. I did the press release yesterday on it. That it is now. This is fact. This is not science fiction. This isn't a theory. It is now a fact. We have proven that we can produce oxygen on Mars out of the Martian atmosphere. And it was done with the Perseverance rover. They had an experiment on there that I think it was MIT that partnered with NASA on this. It's called MOXIE. It's a little box, right? And producing its last run, it did 12 grams of pure 98% pure oxygen, enough for a small dog to breathe in a day.
Wow.
Okay. So it's now, I think it did it 16 times over the last year, and they do it by an electrochemical process of separating one oxygen molecule from carbon, right? And so they separate the two. And now out of the Martian atmosphere, this isn't out of rocks. This isn't extracting it from Martian ice, water ice, or no, we're talking about just sucking in the thin Martian atmosphere and producing oxygen. That's a really, really, really big deal.
Yeah.
And it's now proven this is a fact, and now they're moving on with a bigger version of this, and we're going to see how much oxygen can be produced. But they now know how to do it, and when we get to Mars, we don't have to worry about oxygen now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's very cool. I like to hear those kind of things. I guess that's part of the manned boots on the ground kind of early testing, so they can get manned flights there. I don't know I don't know if it's Elon now or somebody else is planning to be there in a few years, but that will let the cat out of the bag completely when they get boots on the ground and they got a person orbiting the planet Mars taking photographs, and then they got people there on the ground. I think that's going to let the cat out.
Yeah, right. It will have to see. Okay, that's number 6. All right, let me get this down here. That's number 6. Cliff, you're doing good. Is this NASA? Okay, supposed to be a civilian agency. All right, not so fast. But NASA can cover something up. But what if we put I'm talking about private citizens, Elon Musk and 100 other people on that star, whatever it's called, the Starliner, whatever it is. And they get to Mars and they see something. They're live streaming. They're going to be live streaming on Starlink. Think about that, right? Right back on Facebook. If they see something crazy, we're probably going to see it in a live stream. I don't think that there's space for a cover up. And hopefully Elon wouldn't attempt to do something like that.
Yeah.
And that's my excitement about putting people, Earthlings on Mars, but private citizens on Mars.
Yeah, I like that. I think another thing that I've thought about is that China could easily out NASA with their own rover on Mars, and they are not constricted by certain laws or protocol that NASA has not to show any of these ruins. I would love to see that. Now, I don't know how far along the Chinese are with their rover. We know that they have one on the dark side of the moon that's taken some very unusual and anomalous photographs without editing them. But for them to get on Mars would be a big hope for me, because they have the deep pockets to do it. And again, they don't have a protocol where they're going to cover stuff up.
Yeah. When I look at the images of Mars, I often I compare it to if Cliff, you and I, we wreck our car in the desert, right? Okay, whatever. We got a flat tire. We got to start walking. And we've got 200 miles to the next gas station and no water. And you and I start walking. It's planet Earth. And we know that if we see something off in the distance, that's where we're going to walk to, some structure, right? We'll find out what it is when we get there, but at least we know that's where we're going. And I see the same thing on Mars. I see that if I'm walking around Mars and I can look at these photographs and go, I'm walking over there. I'm going to walk up there. That is something. There is stuff in these pictures, and not only on the ground, but there's stuff in the sky too, and that shouldn't be flying on Mars. So I do believe that there's stuff there.
You know about Phobos, the Mars moon. I didn't realize until a couple of years ago that there was a scientist from Russia who believed that it was man-made and that it was artificially constructed and that the skin's artificial. I have recently, and you probably already know this, I've seen monuments on this moon. And I don't know why we're not looking at that more closely too. It gets down to dollars and cents.
I think that the last 2 times that Russia tried to go take a look at that, they got blasted out of the sky, didn't they?
I think one of their satellites was blown out, or it just ended very quickly. and then the other one lost its feed, so it couldn't take command anymore. So that's too expensive to lose equipment that way. But I continually have hope that will be a disclosure point that NASA can use to kind of let us understand comfortably, without seeing face to face with an alien, a living alien, that there's evidence in our solar system of an early civilization. And by doing that, we become aware that we're not alone. I think it helps us and it advances us as a species to be more aware of our place, So I think Mars is a great location to really unveil an alien presence.
Do you think that we're Martians?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, from the cities that we can see right now, I mean, there's people that are doing remote viewing that go back a million years who say they were 8 to 9 feet tall, very thin, that they were biological. And there's some belief and some authors who say we are descendants from aliens on Mars because they look very Earth-like, they're a hominin of some kind. I don't know about that. That tends to stretch it a little bit for me. But from what I've seen in the archaeological ruins, and I'm a bit of an amateur archaeologist, I think that's enough proof. And I've had, like I said, two Mesoamerican archaeologists look at the prints of these landscapes, of these buildings, of these roads, and they go, well, how far have you gotten in the excavations, So they obviously believe we have something. And then, when I tell them that's Mars, they immediately quiet down and kind of want to leave the room as soon as they can. So
the positive. Okay, what skeptics want to say is that everything that we see on Mars is wind erosion. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, wait a minute. There was a series of pictures that surfaced, and it was like three different locations of floating spoons, right? And the shadow was underneath it, and this was a NASA photograph.
Yeah.
That you could go and get off the NASA website. It's a photograph. You can see the shadow on the ground. It's floating in the air. It's very unusual. And they were at a few different locations. Now, I'm not saying that there's anti-gravitic spoons floating around on Mars. That's not what I'm suggesting. But what I am saying is that doesn't look natural. It doesn't look like something that you would find in nature. And NASA just wanted to let that go and say, no, that's wind erosion. Well, I would like to see anything on Earth that looks like that. I mean, it's a spoon. It's a perfect spoon that you would cook with or eat with, floating in the air.
The rover picks up a lot of fascinating and very anomalous photographs constantly, and it's hard to tell. And there's a lot of CGI on a lot of that photo reproductions that we see. So it's a challenge. And I mean, I occasionally have people send imagery of what looks like buildings or machines or something happened there. I mean, you've had Dr. Brandenburg on your program. Something horrific happened because you've seen the photographs of what looks like machine parts.
Yeah. I've seen all, and Brandenburg. See, the thing is, he brings up a whole nother level of analysis because we can talk about what we see, and I love that. I believe I'm, my eyeballs first, right?
Right.
But when you start bringing up chemical analysis and nuclear isotopes and evidence that shows something that shouldn't be there, that was obviously manufactured, and a really bad situation went down at some point. That is something that the scientists need to not only look at, but that's what they base everything on. They want numbers, they want data, and they want measurements. Okay, they don't want to look at a photograph. I don't want to. No. They and that's what Brandenburg has brought to the table, and it's just another piece to the puzzle. But you're absolutely right. His analysis is amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know why they don't look at his work more closely, especially in the Mars atmosphere. This isotope, I think it's 125,
Yeah,
which is the discharge of a nuclear explosion.
only a nuclear explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's actually shown where the detonation points were and design. I mean, he's a physicist, and so he can actually lay out the actual size of this bomb, which is apparently each bomb was as big as the Empire State Building, and laid waste to the atmosphere. And to make those claims and then back it up with his theories, and then not to have a response by the other space scientists is kind of funny.
Well, he's done his job. He's put the data out there. He's published. He's written the books. What more can he do? The problem with it is if you start to establish yourself. I'm talking about other physicists and scientists, military experts taking a look at this data and suggesting, some nuclear detonation that went a nuclear detonation, not a meteor, not an asteroid impact, but a deliberate ignition of a bomb on Mars, or two of them on Mars, eliminating what was ever there and leveling the surface of the planet, and of course blowing away the atmosphere. That opens up a whole nother can of worms, and I just don't think anybody wants to go there, no matter how convincing the evidence is.
Yeah. We started the program talking about disclosure, and I keep going back to the former CIA agent, John Ramirez, who is telling us that in 2027, the ETs will reveal themselves. He doesn't get into any details, but he's saying this as a form of preparation. And I don't think, and tell me what you think, I've never heard that before from anybody.
Well, you turned it around again. That was pretty well done there, Cliff. Pretty well done. I've met John. He's a really nice guy. He's been on the show. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's got a fade to black shirt. Absolutely. He's been a fan of the show for a long time. But he's a really nice guy, but extremely intelligent. And I think that he's probably listening right now. John, jump in the chat and just let me know that you're listening. Is that I believe that he knows what he knows, but he has to disguise that in a different approach and turn it into opinion. It's like when you write a book, right? And you're putting facts in there, but you write the book as fiction or as science fiction, and it's you know what I mean? It's not nonfiction, and you can say what you want, and you're protected. Mm-hmm. If you're an ex-CIA agent and you're going to write about a secret agent, right? Well, just write it as fiction. That's all. And I think that's where John is coming from. He can't go and say, no, this is fact, and this is the reason why I know this. So he only takes it so far, but he has certainly given us the dates, and his delivery and his demeanor. It's pretty convincing, and I think he's a good guy. You know what? He's CIA. Maybe he's really good at the art of deception as well. I don't know.
It makes me wonder, though, and I've talked to a lot of scientists who worked with NASA. Most of them who are working on the black box, or the black ops, I should say, sign a non-disclosure. And it's only some of these guys that are on their deathbed that say, "Hey, I'm going to tell you what I know." You've heard about this new Kennedy assassination, where this guy's he's half dead, and apparently there was a big cover up that he's revealing. It's in the news. But when it comes to Ramirez, to say that there's going to be an announcement, an unveiling, a disclosure, whatever, in 2027, it's like, what did he say? What does he know? What is the disclosure? Is it archaeological ruins? Is it a craft that was down? They're going to show a craft. Is it the physical being? What I mean, what could it be? Is the question.
Yeah, and I always go back to. I mean, it's such an excellent point, but I always go back to Arthur C. Clarke and the book Rendezvous with Rama, and it's a book series, Gardens of Rama, Garden of Rama, and Rama 2. It's 3 books, excellent books, written with Gentry Lee. But it kind of reminds me of Oumuamua in a strange way. But the way that Clarke presents it in the book is we detect something outside, something approaching our solar system, and we know the speed, we know its projection, we know that we have the date that it is going to arrive at Earth. And it's years. So we watch it slowing down, right? It's slowing down because it's traveling at the speed of light or whatever, and it's slowly slowing down, and it approaches our solar system. Maybe that's exactly what's going on. They're tracking something, they're in communication with something, and they know the date of arrival, that it is going to be here. Now they've got a certain amount of time to get things done and to prepare us for that. So, yeah, I think that is probably what John is referring to. I don't think it's going to be anything else. I don't think it's going to be accidental. If it's like John says, if you have a definitive date, maybe we're tracking something interstellar and we know its date of arrival.
Okay, that's pretty amazing that he would say the event is 2027. So it's like he almost has a heads up in some respect, either through a form of communication or calculation of this probe or whatever it is coming into the solar system. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It's, I don't know if we look at a few different scenarios why the government is suddenly talking, right? I mean, there's extraordinary stuff that's going down right now for sure. So why is this happening? It could be, and if you read Dolan and what's his name, Bryce Zabel. You look at their book AD After Disclosure, and they lay out a few different pretty good scenarios. One of them, I think that one of them, they don't have it in the book, but they have something similar, which may be there's like a USB drive, right? Maybe there's a USB drive out there, a terabyte. Here's a 2 terabyte drive right here. It's 2 terabytes, right? It's a 2 terabyte drive. Look how tiny that is. Like to put that in your, you never know. Maybe there's something like this floating around, and they know it. They know that somebody went in and got the files. They got the video. They got the images. They got the locations. They got the names. They got the reports. They've got everything. And it is out of their control. It could be something like that. Whatever happened, is WikiLeaks still around?
Oh, yeah.
Are they still around? I haven't heard anything. But it could be something like that. What if there was a big data dump, right, on the internet?
WikiLeaks.
Yeah. Some kind of WikiLeaks thing. Is WikiLeaks still around? Man.
Yeah, it is. It's WikiLeaks. Wikipedia. I'm thinking of Wikipedia.
No, Wikipedia is WikiLeaks still active. I'm actually let's see. Oh yeah. No, they haven't published anything since 2021. All right. Yeah, WikiLeaks is down. Go to downdetector.com. When we come back, we're going to talk about pyramids and certainly what's going on over in Giza throughout Egypt. I'll be in Egypt in 2 weeks, another trip
Excellent.
back. But very excited about that. And of course, Mesoamerica. Would you see a direct connection with something off planet with the designs and intentions of the pyramids of Earth?
What little we know of the Mars pyramids are somewhat suspiciously similar to the Giza pyramids, except that the Mars pyramids are about 8 to 10 times larger because the atmosphere in Mars is a lot less than Earth. And also the building techniques are different. It looks like they started like a Gunung Penang, building up the pyramid with dirt. And then on the outer edges, they use casing stones to solidify it. But we're talking about pyramids that are 5 to 7 miles in circumference, that are a mile high. They're just unreal. And you can't miss them. The DMN pyramid, which is in Cydonia, which is close to the Big Face, is a monstrosity. It's a 5-point pyramid. The Petrie Molinar DNM pyramid, and it's been studied a great deal. In fact, I think it was Hoagland and a couple of other people that were trying to get NASA to re-image that area, and they didn't do it because it's very, very well constructed. But I think because of the exotic nature of Mars, we just don't know enough about it, and we have no boots on the ground, so we only can study it from satellite imagery. And there's some aspects that, like I said, that are similar to Giza, but
Well,
they're just
what would the purpose be? Are they monuments, or is there another reason for the construction?
well, there's a belief there's a great deal of underground tunnels and systems there, and so they could be energy generators, which is what Chris Dunn believes is what the Giza plateaus are all about.
Right.
They could be a marker. Some people have speculated, based on imagery, that they could house people. They could be living quarters of some kind, which is nothing close to what Giza is all about. So it's hard to say. It really is hard to say, simply because we just don't have enough images of those pyramids.
Yeah, very interesting. I've said this so many times, but when you go to me personally, it's just me personally, because I know that other people have had different experiences at the Great Pyramid, but for me, there are some very spiritual places in Egypt, no question about it. Magic happens. I've had it happen. It's fun. It's great. But for me, the Great Pyramid, as impressive as it is, and it is, it's gnarly, it's amazing, but it's mechanical.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel spiritual. You go to Dendera, you go to Abydos, you go to the Temple of Isis on the island of Philae.
Yeah.
Very spiritual, powerful places. Even the Great Sphinx has got an energy to it. But the Great Pyramid, man, that's like a Volkswagen factory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's lifeless.
Yeah. It's a machine. And
Yeah.
we've had a number of different analysis of it. We recently, I had a representative from two scientists, Carnato Malega and then Filippo Biondi, who in 2022 used a new satellite scanning technology called synthetic aperture radar, which is an acoustic wave. They scanned the pyramid without permission. This is very important to understand, out permission. And the information that came back is blowing people away. 22 new rooms came up. And by the way, I can send you this white paper that has all these images if you want, so your listeners can see that. 22 new rooms, shafts that go 60 to 100 feet under the pyramid, new corridors that surround the king's and queen's chamber. This is all new data that's just come out in the last few months, and it shows that this is, at one point, a functioning tool, a mechanism, a machine of some form that we have no clue what it was about.
Is there images in this data that you can send me?
Yeah, beautiful images, 3D images, Jimmy. And the one thing that's really cool is that they took a three-dimensional CAD system which analyzes the feed, and they created these new rooms, and they're just mind-blowing.
Okay, I want you to look. If you look on the screen right there, you see down at the bottom it says private chat. You see that?
Chat with everyone in the studio. Okay.
No, private chat. That's the last one down at the bottom. You see a little red dot. I just sent you a secret email. Email it to that email address during the break, which we're going to take right now. Okay? You see it, right?
Yeah, I see the email.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Cliff Dunning. We're talking about ancient.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Please visit all of our sponsors. We're taking a quick break here. All of the links are below. We'll be right back.
Join us November 10th, 11th, and 12th, 2023, live at the Luxor Hotel and Casino on the Las Vegas Strip, as Disclosure Fest Foundation and Fade to Black Radio presents Stairway to the Stars, a Human Origins Science and Technology Expo. With live talks, lectures, and workshops by world-acclaimed researchers and authors, featuring topics like human origins, ancient technologies, indigenous teachings, workshops, a mass meditation, yoga and sound healing, music, and so much more. This is Jimmy Church, by the way, and I'll be your host all weekend long. Don't miss our intimate sky watch and meteor shower over the infamous Area 51 airspace in Rachel, Nevada, with special surprise celebrity hosts guiding us through the night. This event will sell out. For more information and tickets, please visit disclosurefest.org. Hi, everybody. Jimmy Church here. Very special announcement, and that is we are shipping Fade to Black T-shirts again. It's been almost 2 years. We did a full upgrade to the website, so you can head over to jimmychurchradio.com. It's all simple to do, and it's right there. Remember, we broadcast 4 nights a week, Monday through Thursday. We bring you the best, the brightest, the most knowledgeable and amazing guests, the best conversations. We do that 4 nights a week. We also do 4 days a week. We broadcast the news, and we do that live too as well. It's not a one-man show. I do it with website support. I do it with producers. I do it with writers and artists. All contribute to the show. The best way to help support what we do here is with the Fade to Black T-shirt. And you can get your Fade to Black T-shirt one of 2 ways. First, go to jimmychurchradio.com, order a shirt. It's really that simple. You're going to get a tracking number, it's going to get shipped, and it's going to get autographed. The second way to get a shirt is with a Game Changer membership. Now, the Game Changer membership not only includes a free T-shirt, but you get a private email to me. You get unlimited commercial-free downloads. You have full access to the website, and everything includes free shipping, and everything is autographed. So help support the show. Get your Fade to Black T-shirt today. The links are below. You can just go to jimmychurchradio.com, and it's right on the website. So there you go. I'm Jimmy Church, Fade to Black. I'm so excited that I just have one thing to say. Go Beckley Teppy. River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What's going on, everybody? So everybody's all excited that they got to see me during the break pulling a bong rip, and it was pretty funny. So, yeah. And our guest tonight, Cliff Dunning. Cliff, you're up in San Francisco, right? Oh, wait. You're muted now. Okay. Now you're unmuted. You're up in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, just across the bridge, just north of Berkeley.
So saying something like pulling a bong rip, that's something that you've said for 50 years.
I wrote a book on cannabis about 2 years ago, so I'm very much familiar with
with the terminology.
Pardon me?
Yeah, the terminology, the words. So we were talking before the break about these structures. Did you send me the images?
It's too big, Jimmy. Because of the graphics, I have to send it to you in a special manner through a heavy-duty, not encryption, but a file transfer, and it's going to take for about 5 minutes.
Wow, is that big?
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't realize it. I was trying to send it through regular email. I can try to send it actually as we're speaking.
Yeah. Why don't you do that? The Muon imaging study that has been going on at Giza has revealed 2 tunnels. This was done by the Japanese, or 2 new chambers, one above the Grand Gallery and another one behind the entrance at the front of the pyramid that was uncovered. I think the Persians did that at one point and removed the blocks and got the entrance, but they couldn't get through there. So they blasted out and tunneled in, which is the tunnel that you use now for the entrance. That wasn't constructed by anybody. That was blasted and dug out to get to the Grand Chamber today. But they found 2 new chambers. And I would venture to guess that there is the opposite of whatever Zahi Hawass says is true. When he says there's nothing to discover inside of the Great Pyramid, well, go to the opposite, right? There's lots to discover.
You know about that. The big problem with that consortium of scientists scan is that they have only been able to reveal part of the data that they've discovered. And it's just because the Antiquities Department just doesn't want people to know about it. They want to. It's the same problem with this beautiful $1 billion museum on the Giza Plateau. It's been delayed after delay after delay. It's been delayed now 6 years. It's still not scheduled to open. It's the same thing with these scans. They took scans. They released the corridor above the entrance, and then this room above the king's chamber. But there's a lot more to reveal because they were inside the pyramid and using this technology, and they had a drone flying above to pierce the outer shell and the interior of it. And so why they're not releasing the data doesn't make any sense to me, but it's very frustrating.
Yeah, you got to keep the dogma going, right? I feel that is the case. What is above the Grand Gallery, that chamber that's there, and what's inside of it? We need to know, and to have tunnels and structure around the King's Chamber. This is my trip with that. Is they built the traps, right, to seal it off, those granite blocks that came down from the ceiling, and they sealed it off. Here's what happened to the guys that were on the inside, right? Were they trapped? No, they had a way to get out. So I think that there was another tunnel that was inside of the king's chamber. And then after they sealed the main grand gallery off, then they left, resealed that, and then exited the Great Pyramid, and they sealed that off. I believe that that is the case. I think there's a lot to be discovered yet inside of the Great Pyramid. And also, that's Khufu, but Khafre next door, they're saying that there's nothing to discover there. I think that's a bunch of BS. I think that it's full of stuff just like the Great Pyramid is.
Yeah, the SAR system that these two scientists used with a satellite goes even further, Jimmy, and it's literally mind-blowing. I published them the photographs the other day, the 3Ds. 22 rooms, corridors on either side of the king's chamber, and then what we surmise is tunnels or canals that leave the interior of the pyramid and go deep 60 plus feet under the ground. No one's ever seen that before. But we do know that the Giza Plateau is crisscrossed with canals that are carrying water all over the place. And it's been known, I think Robert Schoch identified it 20 years ago, John Anthony West, and a lot of people talk about it. Zahi Hawass won't talk about it. The Antiquities Department won't talk about it because they don't want people to know about that technology. But this new SARS scan that was done without the approval of the Antiquities Department is a breath of fresh air, because they actually define these rooms, these stairways, these canals, these tunnels very clearly in a scientific approach in a white paper. And they just released a book, which is in Italian, called Keum Khufu, The End of the Mystery. And I'm hoping to get an English version one of these days, but just came out yesterday.
What's the reason for suppressing this? There's the commercialization of it. I understand that. There's the tourism. That's the established Egyptology and the way that things have been presented for so many years. They don't want to swing off that. So I understand that argument. But I think that there is something much deeper. Do you have grandchildren there that are playing? What's going on? No. It's
my neighbor's having a party.
Man, somebody's having a good time. That's all I've got to say.
I gotta say this. I've been going to Egypt now we've been doing tours since 2016. And there, I don't know if you caught it recently. Netflix had did a movie with Zahi Hawass.
Oh, with the Lost Pyramid?
The Lost Pyramid. And if you listen very with what he was saying is, he wants the discoveries to be Egyptian. He wants limited, outside interference. I think the problem that they have is they have a inferior complex where there have been numerous German, American, British scientists making these discoveries. And I think Zahi, in the end of that special, basically said, we want to find these things on our own time, in our own manner, with the technology we choose. And I think when it comes to revealing the Great Pyramid's new data, these two scientists were smart, because it wouldn't come out. They would have not been able to have the white paper released. We probably wouldn't know about it for another 10 years, which is kind of sad.
And it goes against, Zahi, and I'm not bagging on Zahi, but I am. He's got his own place in this, so that part is fine. But you can't ignore history. And if we go back to Napoleon, after Napoleon, goes in and sacks Italy, right? Robs it of its treasures, takes it back to France. And the French government was all happy. And they said, okay, now you need to invade England next. That's your next thing. That's your next. And he's like, no, man, I'm not a Navy guy. I don't want to do that. Let's do something else. And then he comes up with the idea of invading Egypt. Okay, an Egypt invasion, taking that over. And he had said at the time that if you want to disrupt what Great Britain is doing, let's cut off their trade route through to the Far East. And they do that through Egypt. So let's go and take Egypt over. It'll be easy. Just give me, 10, 20,000 troops, and I'll go down there and take the country over. So that's what he does. And on the way there, he stops by Malta. It's a little side story. And there were 12 tall statues of the disciples of Jesus. And he takes those. They were never seen again, by the way. But he takes those, he loads them on the ship. They conquer Malta. Malta laid down. That was not a big deal. But anyway, he continues on to Egypt. And when he gets there, his ship gets sunk by the British out off the coast of Alexandria. He had the cannons facing in the wrong direction. But that's another story. So what happens? He gets stuck. He's stuck in Egypt. So he brought some artists with him. He brought the scientists of the day and archaeologists. He had them and he had his troops. So that's where Egyptology started. It started with Napoleon. Mm-hmm. It didn't start with the British. It didn't start with the Egyptians. And at the time, Egypt was ruled by about 20 other countries, by the way. But that's what Napoleon brought to the party. And the things that are established today, Cliff, in Egyptology are still the leftover stuff that Napoleon did back then. And it was very important. So and then, the British coming in later and picking things up. But the Rosetta Stone, that's a Napoleon thing. Yeah. That wasn't an Egyptian thing. And Zahi needs to recognize the support that countries around the world, everybody had been fascinated with Egypt for years, going back to the Greeks. That's why Zahi is able to do what he does today. It's the support of the History Channel and not Nat Geo and Netflix funding these expeditions. You can't pretend that history never happened. So that's a very I caught that comment from Zahi. By the way, I thought the documentary was excellent. I think that he may have found the foundation of another pyramid. I really do. Yeah. I thought it was a great documentary. But don't say that everything needs to be Egyptian from here on out. Don't forget who helped you.
Yeah, I don't get that because if you go to Elephantine Island, that entire excavation was funded by the German Institute, and they've been there for 50 years.
Look at Gatenbrink's door, and that entire thing. That wasn't Egyptian.
I think they've been paying about $1 million a year for the opportunity to excavate Elephantine Island, and that goes for other sites. This consortium of the Sky Pyramid group, the Japanese, the French, and the Egyptian team, that was funded outside of Egypt. And yet, because it was sanctioned by the Antiquities Department, they have very slowly released the data. I'm sure there's some very important anomalies that we're waiting to show, but because of whatever issues or protocols that they're putting in the way, it's now been 4 or 5 years since we got the basic data. They're letting it through just in trickles, and it's very, very frustrating.
When you drive up, this is what I found fascinating about Giza. Well, it's all fascinating, but when you drive up and you circle around, you're on the plateau. It's what you see at the edges of the Giza Plateau. There are monuments and structures buried in the sand. You can see them that are really old, and they're covered in sand. And you can see how deep the sand is. You know, it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 feet deep covering these monuments. And I want to go there. I want to check out what that is. I want to walk over to this. I never got an opportunity to. We'll see what happens in a couple of weeks when I get back out there. But I want to go and check out some of the fringes of the Giza Plateau, because those temples, that stuff that's on the outside, and Andrew Collins has talked about this for years, that it's obviously older. It's obviously of a different age and a different construction period. And I want to go see that. I want to see the fringes of the plateau.
You mentioned earlier the Hathor Temple at Dendera, which is one of my favorite temples.
It's mine too. Yeah.
A couple of years ago, they made a discovery of a earlier temple underneath it. And when the one of the British scientists was asking, well, can we use ground penetrating radar to take a look at it? They wouldn't let them use any form of underground ground penetrating radar. And that was 4 or 5 years ago. And so this is what we're dealing with, is that they want to control the narrative of discovery, very much historical notions. You know, who knows if they were to excavate underneath the Hathor Temple and they find a much newer temple or an anomaly that changes our perspective on the Egyptian dynastic period. Mm-hmm. Well, they don't want to be the ones who usher that in. They want to keep things very safe and stable and not rock the boat. And I think that's because they don't want the whole world to come to their door and they have to rewrite history, which is kind of a challenge, because every time I'm there, I mean, you've been there, Jimmy, you know, like the in Abydos, where there is the Osirian, this monstrosity temple.
It's crazy.
It's like, it's how did they cut those 500-ton blocks?
Well, that's the obvious, right? And there's so many of them. And when you walk down that main hallway, well, the thing is about that, and we'll circle back to Dendera, because I went 100 feet underneath Dendera recently. And there's stuff down there. I walked down a staircase in the sand dune and went 10 stories underground down this granite staircase. It was incredible. But anyway, back to the Assyrian. When you come down from the step pyramid, right, and you round the corner there on that little dirt road, and it's sand dunes, right? It's friggin' sand. It's the Sahara Desert, right? It's sand dunes. And you look at the entrance to that, and you go down the staircase, and you're obviously going, dozens and dozens of feet. I don't know how many feet down you go, but it's got to be, and with the slopes, probably 2 stories, I would say, that angle when you get down to the door, and then you continue further down. But when you round the corner and you go down and you go into that main corridor, and there's like 4 of them, but look at the size of that. You could drive a semi truck down that thing, and you just stop and go, wait a minute, I was just above ground. That's sand.
Yeah.
How big? And so you walk through that and you see all of it. Now, yes, the blocks, the granite blocks, and the things, and the rooms, and the thing. Yes, it's like a big shopping mall. It's crazy. But then when you go back up and then just turn around and look and go, what else is there? What else is there? Because that's covered in sand dunes.
I know.
It's crazy. That was one of my Dendera for sure. Abydos, yeah, absolutely. And there's some amazing sites there. But it was that entire complex, and the step pyramid, which has got it's got kilometers of tunnels, kilometers of tunnels that have been confirmed. Okay. All right. I finally got your thing here.
Scroll to the very, like the last page, 22 or 26.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Look for the three-dimensional.
Okay. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Don't get excited. Okay. This email is blank. Did you send me two?
No, I sent you a transfer now file.
Okay. I got it. Just relax.
It's
relax.
A monster file.
I have technology here, Cliff. I have technology. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. 43 megabytes. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to move you over to here. No, you know what? I'm going to leave you here. Okay. So there you are, Cliff. Let me go back to here. Let's go to here. What is the date today? Yes, here it is. Okay. Okay. What page do you want me to go to?
Okay. So are you on synthetic aperture radio Doppler tomography?
Okay. Yes.
That should be your first page.
Yes.
Okay. So scroll down to page 17.
Okay.
That's the
this
first.
Is cool.
That's the first reveal, and you can see that's inside the Cheops pyramid.
Yep, I'm looking now.
Top photo.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to enlarge this. I have permission to show this to everybody.
Yeah, it's been white paper came out 2 months ago, so anyone can use it.
Okay. All right. Let me enlarge this. Let me close this out. And let's go like this. Oh, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
That is pretty dang cool.
Now those are all new corridors, all new canals, and what's even mind-blowing is you can see it looks like stairways, but those are chambers that actually carry fluid or hydrogen. We don't know.
Okay, let's see. I got to go back to 17. I tried to I tried to get it to full screen. Can't do that, so that's fine. We'll just look at it this way, and enlarge this, and this will be good enough for everybody. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense to me. I'm buying what they're selling. Okay.
Well, these guys, this technology is used to look into volcanoes to see if they're active.
Mm-hmm.
And that's solid rock. That's granite rock. And so they just applied it to the pyramids.
Okay, so what we're looking at here, there's a subterranean chamber here. That's number 14. There's the Queen's chamber. There's the King's chamber.
Right.
So now we've got, I don't know how many extra rooms in a hallway. Everybody can see my mouse. This is underneath. This is all numbered, but there's another descending passageway here, number 4. Number 7, that now, judging from the width of the Great Pyramid, this bottom hallway, number 7, this extends out of the edges of the Great Pyramid. But look at number 19.
That's the big void that they have been looking at.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. That must be huge.
It's gigantic.
Wow. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 small shafts. Yeah, okay, so I see the corridor around the King's chamber.
Right.
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to everybody take a good look at this. You can come back later.
Go to number 26, Jimmy.
Well, if we look here, this is part of the tomographic result without overlapping, and you can
Right.
see the chambers here. That's extremely fascinating. And then look at the azimuth on the left here, and you can see the chamber voids. Wow, that's pretty crazy. Okay, so let me pull this out. And you just said what page?
26 shows the shafts that go 60 plus feet under the pyramid, and it stops, and we don't know what it connects to, but there's a good opportunity or a good guess that it connects with the canals that run water.
Yeah. Look at that. Oh, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. And you look at the merging of the images. So there's the tomographic here. Wow, that's pretty nuts.
It's crazy.
It's pretty clear too. That's the other thing.
Yeah,
it's pretty clear. Those guys aren't welcome back in Egypt. Nah, they're gonna get flagged and cut.
They actually wrote a letter to the Antiquities Department and said, "This is what we are publishing," and the Antiquities Department said nothing. So I think you're right. I think they better make amends before they get off a plane.
Look at that. I'm gonna have. I think I have Cliff Dunn on the show on Monday. He was supposed to be with us on Thursday, but I'm taping some TV stuff on Thursday. So I think I have Cliff on Monday. This is pretty
Dunn,
exciting. Yeah. Chris Dunn, Christopher Dunn will be on with us on Monday. This makes a lot of sense, and it makes a lot of sense in that it can't be. It just can't. It can't be just solid. It can't be solid stone. There has to be purpose there. And
whenever I've gone into the pyramid, and a lot of people go in there to meditate and tune and hum, and it never felt comfortable to me. It felt like very artificial, like, get the hell out of there. You should not be in here more than a few minutes, because it's a structure that produces some form of perhaps energy or sound or harmonics or something, but it's not made for human occupancy at all. And this goes for and I know that you've been to the bent pyramid.
Yep.
And the red pyramid. When you go down that shaft, that's a maintenance shaft. It's not made for bodies. It's not made for coffins or sarcophagi or whatever. It's made for somebody to get in there to tune a machine. And that's why I'm always curious when they say that the bent pyramid was a mistake in design. There's a lot of very, very anomalous features that I'd like to know more about. And if we could get a scan using this synthetic aperture radar system, we could see the interior of that. And I'm hoping that one day they'll come over to Mexico and do Teotihuacan, the Great Pyramid in Mexico City, and Chichen Itza and Uxmal, Tikal, because my guess is that they all are very similar. They're all
this image
machines.
Here, page 29. This is Crazy Town right here. This is Crazy Town.
Yeah.
So look at the overlay here. There's the King's Chamber. The Queen's Chamber.
Right.
You see that? It's right there. There's the subterranean chamber right here. Now, and you look at this. Yeah. And so here is the void. This looks like the 30-foot void that they found in the Muon side scan.
Yeah.
But what the heck is this? That's ginormous.
It's a combination of canals, rooms, and whatever.
There's obviously a tunnel right here. You can see it, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
Now, one of the scientists, Coronado Malanga, has written extensively about aliens and UFOs, and he believes that there's an off-world component to the original design of the Cheops pyramid. And he believes also that it's extremely old, in the tens of thousands of years, not 12 or 15. And this is what happens with a lot of the uh, Egyptian buildings, pyramids, and temples, is they're repurposed. Hathor Temple has been repurposed probably 5 or 10 times.
It has. It has. You can see it. You can see
Yeah.
it. Hey, you know what? You know what's so crazy about that temple? Because when you go, all of Egypt, all of it, every last bit of it is tan. Okay, so you got to get used to the color tan,
Yeah.
not brown, right? No, just straight up tan.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. And then you go to Dendera, and the colors are still there.
Yeah.
And that is, if you just go in, and it's so encompassing, it is so big. You don't have a concept, right? Those columns, 60 feet, 6-story columns on the inside of this, the room, rows all painted. The blues, the golds, the things, the colors are still there, and you can see how it was when that thing was brand new. And it's a stunning. And you know what else? It's the birds that live there, right? They're all chirping and living, having a good time. And it's that big. It's just you and the birds. And it's just looking at the magnificence of it. And the ceiling's more beautiful than anything else.
Yeah.
You get a sore neck looking up, and there's a whole story there. You can tell. I don't know how many, what is it? It's probably 100 feet by, I don't know, it's probably bigger than that. It's probably over 100 feet wide. I'm trying to think of the depth, but
the pyramid? I mean,
no,
the temple?
Dendera.
Oh my
And
God.
so
It's
huge.
several hundred feet.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. But anyway, when you start in the back corner where you see the story start, right? You see it, and then you just walk through, and it's going up and down the rows, and you can see this entire thing that is presented there. It's insane, and it's 60 feet up, 60 feet, and the things that you're looking at Dendera are much bigger than you think, because you're looking at something that is 60 feet up. And you can read it and see it. Well, just imagine if you were on a ladder and how big, right? How big these hieroglyphs are. It's just incredible to see. All right, now I'm going to pull this up. I've got another image. You guys ready? If you thought the last one was crazy, thank you for sending this, Cliff.
My pleasure.
This is amazing. All right, now check this out. Now we're going under the surface.
There you go. Yeah.
So if we look at the tomographic, which let's go to B first. There's the pyramid. And now look at the two shafts that are coming down. And then look at this other void here. There is the underground. That's the underground chamber here, right? The one that we know about. That's there. Mm-hmm. It's clearly represented with the scan. But what's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? What is this? Look at 15. That's incredible. And in between, there's another void that is here too as well. That's incredible. That's incredible. I don't know what to. I don't know what I'm looking at here.
I think that we don't have a science that explains it yet. And that's why, in the best case scenario, we would hope that the authorities would say, you know what, we appreciate your discovery. How would you suggest we go about unveiling this? But I don't, unfortunately, see the Egyptian authorities going, come on down and help us look for stuff.
Well, if you remember Andrew Collins, when he found the cave system underneath the Great Pyramid, and that documentary still to this day is one of the best. And he had the courage. He felt the vibe, right? And he was there, and he kept going back. He was looking at the British cartography of the Giza Plateau, and they had a dotted outline of a cavern or something underneath the plateau, and that originated at the Tomb of the Birds, right on the northeast corner of. Well, no, if you're looking at it from the top, it would be the northwest corner of the Giza Plateau. But he felt the vibe. So, but he couldn't find anything. He comes back a year later, him and I think his wife and his best friend, and they bring some cameras, and they go back to. They couldn't find anything. They couldn't find the entrance. They were leaving. It was their last day. They were not only leaving, they were leaving. Like they were done. They were walking out, and he catches something out of his left eye, and he looks back at the end of this hallway, and he finds a little hole this big, pokes his head in, and finds the cavern, the cave that goes underneath the Great Pyramid.
Wow.
And Zahi Haiwa said, "What? There's nothing there. There's nothing." So he went in, and they spent I don't know how many days descending until they got tired. Going into this massive cavern system that went directly under the Great Pyramid that wasn't supposed to be there. And then, well, yeah, man, I sound like I'm bagging on Zahi all night tonight. But what does Zahi do the next year? He makes the discovery. He goes back with his own team and makes the discovery of the cavern underneath. But there's something there. And remember, there wasn't supposed to be anything. I love these images. And that's way deep. That's much further than Andrew Collins went. I'm wondering if that top section, everybody follow my mouse right here. I wonder if this is where Andrew Collins.
We can't see it, Jimmy. You've taken it off the screen.
Oh, duh. Thank you. Right here. I wonder if this is where Andrew Collins was in this area. Right here.
I would love it if they would do either a LiDAR scan or a ground penetrating radar around the pyramids to see the tunnel system, because that's where those deep shafts hook up to, is my guess, that we're looking at the pyramid.
Yeah, I've often wondered. There is a lot. Look at this, man. This is crazy, man. I love this. Okay, all right. I'm going to pop this up too as well. So here we have mapping off of the tomographic. So this is the Queen's Chamber, everybody. Okay, all right. There's the King's Chamber there. Now we've got a shaft and a void here that is new.
No, that void is the blue void is the one that was determined by the Japanese consortium.
Right. But it hasn't been
explored.
Hasn't been explored yet.
Yeah.
And but anyway, here's the subterranean chamber here. But now let's swing over here to the Queen's Chamber. What is this? What is this? And what is this? Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Huh. This is exciting stuff.
It's fresh off the presses.
One of the I've often said if I was Jeff Bezos, right? If I was Bill Gates, you know what I would do? I'm serious too. I get big vacuum cleaners. I would start sucking the sand off of the plateau. That's what I would do. I would move the sand from here to there, right? I would just move and see what is there. And now we have LiDAR now, right? Look at everything that we've discovered in Guatemala, right?
Right.
And think about that. Well, and some of this has been done, but we haven't seen the results of the research. But start scanning. I would go from Giza to Saqqara, and I would scan all of that. I bet it's connected.
Yeah.
I bet
I
it's
would.
connected.
The cost of realigning a satellite is in the hundreds of thousands. So I would direct one of the geological survey satellites that can penetrate up to 30 feet and just scan the whole plateau and then begin pinpointing and then begin excavating. The problem is you're right into the antiquities department. You have to pay for them. You have to get, excuse me, their permission, and then they have to assign their people to it. And they not only manage the narrative, but they also manage the time factor. So, we're not going to release that data right now. Why not? Well, we need to review it. 5 years later, okay, here's a corridor. So,
you know what I did the other day? You just reminded me. I'm just going to tell everybody. Bill, put this link up in the chat for everybody. You can watch. I watched this movie from 1957, black and white, the other day. Curse of the Pharaoh. Oh, it was the best movie ever, man. It was the best movie ever. It's all in there. It's all, and it was just amazing. Curse of the Pharaoh. Dumb American archaeologists stumble into a pharaoh's tomb, and all hell breaks loose. Man, it's just great. It's just fantastic. And it was over like that. I forgot how short those movies were, right? It's like 60 minutes, 70 minutes, 80 minutes, very quick. But a great ending. Fantastic movie. Fantastic. Just crazy. Curse of the Pharaoh, 1957. Don't waste any time tonight. Just go straight to that movie. Just amazing. Curse of the Pharaoh. Okay, I did a quick scroll down. I want to see if there's anything else. Wow, that is just crazy. Okay, so this is, I see what you're saying. So this is directly above. There's the King's Chamber. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let me pull this up too as well. So everybody, there's the King's Chamber. This is the hallway that Cliff was talking about earlier that goes around the perimeter of the King's Chamber. Right. Now, I don't see this connecting to the King's Chamber, though. I find that interesting.
Yeah. And I don't
it doesn't connect. Yeah. I think they had to escape. Whoever, right, when they sealed off the Great Pyramid, you had to get out. There had to have been, and this represents that. But there isn't a connection to this other hallway. Well, that they haven't found it yet, but I think I would bet that there is. But there's the big chamber from the Muon side scan.
Don't expect National Geographic or the Smithsonian to talk about this because the authorities are not happy that this was done without their express permission. So. That means that this will be within the scientific community and those of us who work with these scientists that are, unveiling these ancient monuments. So I would say,
where can everybody go and see this now? You have, let me
you
get
can
to
post that white paper that I gave you to everybody.
Okay, but do you have links to this over at earthancients.com?
It would be available with the photographs on our Facebook page, Earth Ancients Facebook, any of the pages. We have an international Facebook.
Okay.
We have a group page.
Okay, Jonaside and Bill, get their Facebook pages up in the chat. I want everybody to go and see this. Now we're looking at the images. There's a lot of data there. There's a lot of data on how they got to it. So this is a complete paper, and I want everybody to go and see that. The images are great, but you've got to look at the scientific data that backs all of this stuff up, and it's all there. I'm going to go back and I'm going to read all of this. This is my cup of tea right here, Cliff.
Oh, good. You were at Contact in the Desert. Dr. Manu Safsuday actually at that conference unveiled this paper.
Yeah, he did that. He did that parts of it. Well, that was this year, but he did some earlier versions of this too as well here. I think I have him. I think I have him on the show next week too. I think Manu's going to be here.
Oh, maybe
I think Manu's first show was here.
Okay.
Probably, and I think I had him on Coast to Coast too a couple of times.
Okay.
But his work is exciting, and we need people like Manu out there to keep the foot on the gas on this and to keep the pressure on. He is somebody that it's all about the science, but he has an open mind. Right. And that's what we need. You need to think outside the box. You need to think about is there something else there? And let's see if there is, and let's go and try and find it. As opposed to the viewpoint of Egyptologists and Zahi, which is there's nothing here. There's no reason to go and look. Manu's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So what's next for you? What are you working on now?
I am trying to finish this book, the Maya controversy. We didn't even get into the Maya pyramids because they're fascinating as well. And it's looking more and more like there was the Mesoamerican people who we know as the Maya, the Toltecs, the Aztecs, and so forth and so on, are the descendants from a very early people that are probably between 12 and 15,000 years in the past. You had Marco Vigato. Marco believes the same thing.
Yes, he does.
Graham
He's great.
Hancock in his Ancient Apocalypse, that's the whole theme of that. But what I was introduced to by Dr. Gomez was a chance to go underneath the Plum Serpent Pyramid at Teotihuacan and see this tunnel. And what they excavated was mostly artifacts, 75,000 artifacts. They were hoping to find the body of a king, a queen, or an important individual. What they found instead was the guts of a mechanism that I'm thinking may be similar to what we see in Giza, except that what we have from satellite imaging of the Plum Serpent Pyramid is canals that take water from the nearby river, take them under the ground, and then they connect. When you're down in the shaft, they connect with the tunnel, and water was being constantly dumped in this shaft. And when you're in there, the ceiling is black, like something's being exploded or detonated or something. The other thing that Gomez found was huge volumes of liquid mercury that he got out of there. When they were excavating, they constantly had their walkie-talkies and lights go out. So there's a very unusual telluric field, energy field, directly underneath the pyramid. And what's really weird, and I write about this in this book, is there was a strange perfume rose smell that kept coming into the main, what I call the combustion area. Now, Gomez didn't even look at that. His bottom line as an archaeologist for INA, the Mexican anthropological group, is to find bodies. They want to find a king, or they want to find a queen, or they want to find an important individual. What he was looking at, I believe, is the guts of a machine. Because when you go down there, there's a water line that's perfectly square. He actually found this tunnel by mistake. he was walking around the pyramid of the serpent, and one day, the day before he was out there, they had rained very heavily and caused seepage in the area just in front of the stairway. He excavated that area and found a circular opening made of stone that was a well that led to the tunnel. Water was purposefully, I should say, channeled into this tunnel. Why?
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. And I want to thank you, Cliff. Great show tonight. I look forward to the next time that I have you on. But it's just constantly adding to the conversation about what the ancients knew, and a much smarter and I think that we look at Neolithic and we constantly use that word to have an image of what you see in a museum, right? A club, right? Animal skins. And clearly that wasn't the case. There was an advanced knowledge there and an understanding that we're just now coming back around to today and trying to figure it out, including these images that you presented here of the Great Pyramid. Just extraordinary. Great night tonight, Cliff. Thank you so much. And reach out if you need anything, man. I really appreciate it. Great conversation tonight.
Thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Cliff Dunning. And now Bill's got, thank you so much, Cliff. Bill's got Cliff's Facebook links up right here. Thank you for that. And also earthancients.com too as well. Everything is up in the chat. And head over to Facebook so you can look at this white paper on the Giza Plateau and the tomographic imaging that was done there. Thank you so much, Cliff. Behave and be well. I'll see everybody tomorrow night. We are going to be doing an AMA. That is tomorrow night after the exciting day and week that we've had here at Fade to Black. Tomorrow night is a perfect night for an AMA. So that's going down tomorrow night, and I will see everybody then. And what's going on here? Oh, there it is. There's my music. My music is right there. Fade to Black is produced by Hill J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Thank you to Dennis and Kevin. Webmasters, Drew the Geek. Got to thank Jonathan Zenzabil. You guys are amazing. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboys, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2023 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, copied, or downloaded anywhere used in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black of the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night with our AMA, Ask Me Anything. I want you to be safe. Go back, Lee Tappy.